Hello there guys, and welcome to this noisy environment. Well, let's just say I managed to make a very budget virtualization environment. It's like probably the shittiest virtualization environment I've ever had, because it doesn't have VTX, it does not have VT/D, but it works. 432-bit, of course. It doesn't let me do 64. But other than that, it's pretty decent. I mean, it's enterprise grade hardware on a very tight budget, because you can get one of these for free, pretty much. I'm using an IBM X346. It's got two old gen Xeons from 2004. They are single core with hybrid threading, so 2 cores, which are not physical cores, of course, but still. And it totals up to 4 gigabytes of RAM, redundant power supplies, 4 146.8 gigs drives with 10k RPM. And I think that's all. It's a simple server, but it's enterprise. It's made to stay on 24/7, and it's way more reliable than using a budget like desktop for that purpose. I mean, you could get like a dual core for the same price with a little less RAM and still, but it doesn't have. It probably does not have more than one network card. So there's the advantage of a proper server. It doesn't have IPMI, BMC, all the things that you can count on with an enterprise hardware, which you don't quite have with a default computer. So that's pretty much why I went for an enterprise server, even though it's not powerful anymore and it's kind of noisy when it's hot. And of course you can hear it right now because it's literally screaming. But there's a good reason for that. I'm gonna show you right now, by the way. So let's switch to the server. As you can see, it's barely using CPU, and RAM is off right now because it's literally not running any virtual machine other than the system itself. So there's no load, pretty much no load. It's negligible. As you can see, 87 megahertz. That's all. And as you can see, 2 CPUs operating at 3.2 gigahertz, but single core, so it's literally nothing major, but it does work, so that's the point. It has 4 logical processors. I've mentioned it has, well, it's pretty simple. So let's go to performance, not there, configuration, there you go. So as you can see, it's kind of hot outside. It's ambient temperature, as you can see there. Let me just move that a little bit. See, 28. It's a hot day, so server's kind of loud. And the temperatures, surprisingly enough, are not too high. Server temperatures, that is. Of course, it's got 12 fans, so that does make sense. Anyway, I think it's time for some virtualization, right? Well, it has its limitations. Like, I tried to install Windows 10 32-bit, it did not work, did not go past the boot screen. Windows 7 worked just fine. Windows Server 2008 worked just fine, which is good. So even though you don't have like the most recent ones, you can still run some old ones. Linux works just fine as well. I was running ESXi 3.5 first, which is a little older than this one. And of course it didn't work. It was not going past the boot screen, which was a bit of a concern, because you know, it took a lot of time to install. Everything was going fine and fast, and then when I had to reboot, it was not willing to go past the grub. So I had to figure out a way to get ESXi 4 installed, because it doesn't run on my server. It's not compatible, but I found a workaround. You can actually get ESXi on your USB stick and boot from that USB stick. It's pretty easy, actually. I can teach you guys. There's literally like it takes less than 10 minutes. You just need WinImage and WinRAR, so that's literally all you're gonna need, and you don't even have to like install the system itself. You just after you prepare the stick, you just plug it right into the server, you change the boot order and make it boot to the USB stick, and boom, it works. Simple as that. It's amazing, it's fast, and most importantly, it keeps your data safe. So I am running Windows Server 2012 on my server, so I didn't want to wipe the drives and install ESXi on it, so I use the USB stick. So whenever I want to get rid of it, I just unplug the stick and it's gonna boot right back into Windows, which is excellent. So I can have like 2, 3 or as many operating systems as I want just from USB sticks, and base install on the hard drive, of course. But anyway, so let me show you some performance figures. Start a VM. Let's go with this one, which is the most recent I got. Let's open the console. Well, there's one downside though. The client, vSphere client from ESXi 4 is not willing to work on Windows 10 for some reason, so I had to run a Windows Server 2003 VM to manage ESXi. That's a bit of a problem, but other than that, it's been working flawlessly, so that's good. Let's power the VM on, and you're gonna see how fast it goes. Of course, it's not as fast as ESXi 6.7 with a proper CPU, you know, recent Xeon with VTX and stuff, but it does the job pretty decently. Let me just tell you that. It's actually pretty snappy. As you can see, there's this mismatch, but it goes right past that and it boots. Other thing that I forgot to mention is, contains a file system with errors. Oh, alright. Anyway, back to the system itself. Let me show you something that I forgot to mention, which is here on the configuration storage. So as I have everything on my disk, as I have a ESXi installed on a flash drive, it doesn't have access to my drives, to my hard drives, because it's running a different file structure. It's running Windows Server in there, so it doesn't work. And I had to use NFS, network file sharing. So I had to set up a VM running FreeNAS to manage data. So my VMs are stored in there through a share. And it's been quite a concern though, because it's taking a lot of space, way more than it should, way more than VMware itself reports. So it's, even though I'm using FinProvision, which usually does not allocate space, for some reason FreeNAS is pre-allocating a lot of space. It's taking a lot of room in my disk. Like it's saying here, let me show you summary. It's showing that I'm using just 17 gigabytes overall. That's a lie. That's a lie right there. It's definitely not using just that. Even though, yes, that amount of VMs is gonna add up to just 17 gigs, but somehow the file is taking like 100 gigs, which is a big problem. A big problem. It's taking a lot more space than it should actually take, and that's kind of worrying me, but I'm gonna fix that with OpenFiler, maybe Windows Server iSCSI instead. I'm not sure yet. I'm just gonna run away from FreeNAS because it's not serving me well. I mean, if you have enough storage, if storage is not a concern, it just, you know, just go for it, because it's pretty simple. FreeNAS just works. It's straight off the box. You set up the drives, you set up the file share, and it's gonna work. There's no mystery, there's no workaround, it just plainly works. Which is not the case with OpenFiler, which I tried to use first, but it was quite of a pain, so I had to go for FreeNAS, and now it's taking a lot more space than it really should, and my drive's almost full, so that's definitely a problem. Other than that, setup has been working pretty fine. Even though, you know, it's not like Cat 6 cables, so it's not as fast as it could be, but, well, it's serving me well. well enough. It's running in VMs, it's only 32-bit, which is a problem. But other than that, as you can see, the system is pretty snappy. I mean, it's not as fast as it would be on Rio VTX, but way faster than VirtualBox, for instance. I don't know if you guys remember, but I actually tried to run VirtualBox on top of Windows Server 2012, and it, let's just say, did not work. I mean, it did work, but it was kind of slow. It took me quite a bit to install Debian, and it did not want to boot after install. Same happened to QEMU, which took me like almost a whole day to install, and it did not work at all. I was pretty pissed, and then I went for VirtualBox, thinking, oh, VirtualBox has a proper emulation, it's gonna work faster. No, it did not. It does not work well. If you don't have VTX and you're running Type 2 hypervisor, you're gonna have a hard time, a literal hard time. So you gotta bear that in mind. If you wanna buy an enterprise server for that purpose, go with ESXi. It's your only way, because KVM won't work. It needs VTX. Even the ESXi to a certain point won't work anymore. It only works up to ESXi 4 on servers without VTX. So that's literally the only option you have, and you're kind of limited to the VMs you can run. So yes, you can run Linux, you can run, I've tested so far Debian, I've tested Ubuntu, it did work pretty decently. Windows worked just fine, Windows Server 2008 32-bit. You can't virtualize a 64-bit without VTX, so that's quite a problem as well. But any 32-bit, as long as it's old enough, like Windows 10 as mentioned before won't work, but like Debian, CentOS, Ubuntu Mate will work. Probably old 32-bit Arch Linux could work as well. I haven't tested a lot yet. I've been messing around with Debian mostly because that's what I wanna. I wanna make a Debian lab for something else, for another sort of projects. It's something that I've been planning for quite some time now. It's nothing solid yet. It's just a plan, but still. Anyway, let's just change a few settings here. I want to show you the Windows 7 VM as well. Edit settings, add some extra RAM, like 2 gigs of RAM. Oops, that's way too much. That's better. So we could even add more CPUs. Video card, okay, that's great. Settings are, it's gonna use all the RAM I got. It does let you do that, which is great. So you can assign the entire RAM, and it's gonna manage. So let's open console and turn the VM on and see what it does, and keep the performance figures, resources on the background, because I wanna see how the system's gonna cope with that. I haven't tested that yet, by the way, so it's gonna be a first. So let's just take a look at how long it's gonna take. So I'm kind of happy, even though it's 32-bit. I'm very happy with how fast the virtualization is going. It's actually usable. Like, you can use that for some stuff. It's not like, wow, pinnacle of performance, fully ready for corporate environments. But if you're running a small lab and you want to kind of split the virtualization, like, oh, you could use your main machine, which probably does have VTX, because you're probably running an i5, i7, i3. Those are fully VTX capable, as long as you enable that on the BIOS, to run 64-bit VMs and offload all the 32-bit workload to a enterprise server. You could run pfSense, you could run a lot of Linux distros, you could run legacy Windows just fine. I mean, 32-bit's not quite what you would want in 2018, but still, I mean, if you're on a budget and you want to try some professional grade hypervisors like ESXi, a more hands-on experience, more bare metal experience, when temperature management comes into play, and there's like real integration with the bare metal, and not just your hypervisor running inside of another hypervisor, like running ESXi on top of VMware Workstation. It's doable, it's fully doable, but you lack the management part. You lack the actual bare metal fun, because yes, it's a lot of fun to manage a bare metal server. So you miss all of that. The entire bare metal joy is just gone. It just, you know, it's just not there. And for a budget, for a very, very cheap amount, you can actually get yourself an enterprise server and have a little bit of that experience, even though it's kind of crippled. It's 50-50, let's just say that, because it's not a full experience. You don't get a 64, but still, it's pretty decent. Yeah, I was trying to use Net Framework to run RAID drive and use Google Drive as a physical drive for. Okay, yeah, it did not work, so I got really mad, but whatever, I guess. So here you go, Windows right there, running just fine. It's okay, maybe not so fine. It's a little slow at best, but it's fully usable. You can live with that, and you can RGB into the system, which makes the whole thing way faster. Of course, you're not gonna manage the VM from a vSphere client. It's just way too slow. You can of course RGB and have a faster performance on Windows. It doesn't matter much for Linux. And as you can see, system load, it doesn't use the whole memory at once. As you can see here, it's using 2.7 gigs. And just a little bit of CPU, even though I assigned the entire CPU. As you can see, it's barely using our CPU. It's real time. It refreshes every 20 seconds. So resource allocation, as you can see, it's shares value and shares and whatever available total. Great. So actually I assign 2 gigabytes for this specific VM, I imagine. Let's take a look at that computer. Not that, Jesus Christ. Okay, the cursor is a little way too slow. And we have 2 gigabytes of RAM and 2 processors. That's great, 32-bit system. Yeah, it's fully usable. Let's just say that on RGB, of course, you're not gonna manage, as mentioned before, but still, yes, you can still use old servers for that purpose, for 32-bit system only, so you can offload your actual system and let the old gen job for old gen metal. And it's fun. You get all the fancy bare metal thing, which is the noise, of course. A lot of fans going on, lots of Ethernet ports, and whole like management fun, which you don't quite have with a default computer. So yeah, that's it. The video is all about that. I finally got to achieve the virtualization experience I was looking for. The 32-bit virtualization experience from 2004. Let's just say that I was looking for, because VirtualBox was a pain in the ass, but ESXi finally got what I needed. You know, it works. It's not fully compatible with all the systems, which does make sense. It's from 2011, so you can't expect it to run Windows 10 or to run like Windows Server, because it's 64-bit, but still. It's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you all liked it. It's more of a showcase video. If you guys want an actual video on how to install ESXi 4.2 and a USB drive and actually get it to boot into your system, and then network configuration for the server itself, how to assign an IP, how to assign the Ethernet cards and stuff. So if you guys want that, just comment down below. I'll make a video on that ASAP. Yeah, that's it. So we finally got there. The dream is real, and now I can finally go back to Red Dead Redemption Online, which, wow, it looks amazing, but I couldn't enjoy it because I was worried about ESXi, about getting the system to work. I was not gonna relax until it was fully operating. It's not fully yet because the NAS issue, which I mentioned, network file sharing stuff, which, you know, didn't go as planned. It's using a lot more space than it actually should, but we can fix that real quick, hopefully. And yeah, goodbye, you all take care, and hope you all like it.